Everyday Tuesday Live, a network issue-oriented innovation talk show.
Thanks for staying tuned. The focus tonight on the program is NDDC, How Accountable. Like we said, it's an audience participated program. We went to the streets to find out what Nigerians have to say about the update on NDDC and how accountable. Let's take a listen.
Niger Delta was created for the benefit of the people. But the people that are living in Niger Delta have not seen the benefit of their products. The petroleum we are using today is from Niger Delta and not from any other places. All the contracts that have been awarded right from onset, nobody has delivered. There is no place that we're told that one person among the contractors has delivered. So if Buhari can come out boldly today and say that forensic audit has to be done in respect of Niger Delta, is a welcome development.
But if you go to the community there today, you see that there's no any tangible something that you see on the ground when you compare the kind of money they are giving. So it's a welcome development, and I hope that the president will go extra mile to make sure that it's not only investigation. Those that were indicted or found to have misappropriated this fund should be made to refund the money or do the project or complete the project, or they should be taken to court so that there will be a trial.
I commented the government of His Excellency President Muhammadu Buhari on that move. It is a welcome development. It is that signals an aggressive fight against corruption. I'm in support of it. He should go ahead with it. I'm in support of the auditing, the forensic auditing. But most importantly, in my own thinking, the outcome of the forensic auditing, the white paper should be worked upon. Those who are culpable should face the music properly.
Well, apart from the word of forensic auditing, to really know how he mentioned about ₦1 trillion that have been spent by NDDC so far since the creation, and I believe by now we're supposed to have seen the committee investigating and doing the forensic account that he mentioned.
But now we really appreciate the way the Mr. President reacts over the Niger Data program. For the new boss, what you learn, because I have never tried it, and not any of my contractor, I order for them to try it. But people are saying that the new boss in the Niger Data development is trying. You know, that is trying. So, of course, I think that should be okay if really they can handle that, so that at least the administration of the government that is pushing because there are a lot of money was pushing there. A lot of money was pushing there for almost 9 years. 5 years, I can say, or 9 years. Where those monies go? And if you go there, you can't find any reliable road or any contract was done.
Those are reactions by Nigerians, and back to the program. Now we take a shift from the issues to the way forward. Now the forensic audit has been ordered, and we have heard reactions by the guests, the Nigerians put together. So starting with Benin Network Center, let me ask Dr. Ekio, if I ask you, with the issues raised, concerns raised, questions raised and answered, what should be the way forward, and after the forensic audit, how best can the NDDC be run?
All right. Thank you very much. I do not think that the NDC should be paused because they want to do a forensic audit. I think first a clear line should be drawn from 99 to this point, where the forensic audit wants to start. And then life must continue for the Niger Delta.
Is it a 30-minute program?
A matching order and funding made available for projects to continue. Then there must be a clear cachet. There are a group of people who are genuine contractors who have worked in that agency and probably have delivered, because I can tell you also that if you wipe off the Niger Delta from the Niger Delta, the NDDC from the Niger Delta region, apart from the infrastructures that the state governments have put in place, you will find nothing else. You will not find any federal government infrastructure anywhere. So it means that it is the state governments of the Niger Delta, from their 13% derivation, their state allocations, and the caricatural ones that the NDDC is doing, that is kept the Niger Delta going. Like you said about the East-West Road, you can also see clearly that a road that is supposed to be well funded, I know the story. The former President Yar'Adua actually said he's going to put some direct funding. The road is not going, there's no road from Benin to Calabar. There's no road. The road is failing, and nobody's asking. We know the contractor, Setraco is there, Julius Berger is there, RCC is there. Nobody is able to ask them why are they not on site. So we're happy that the Niger Delta minister is very excited about the NDDC. He should also look inwards and fix the Niger Delta, the East-West Road for Niger Delta people. Then going forward, it's not enough to audit a place. The presidency must begin to find credible people that will be given matching order to invest the resources pumped into the agency for that region, not a rigmarole kind of investment where you throw money in, you give people contract. The National Assembly must also be guided. The Senate President, the House of Reps Speaker must also guide their committee chairman not to see that agency as a cash cow or a gratification agency where they hijack contracts and settle their political accolades. Yes, politicians must be given jobs. Contractors must be given jobs. But there must be a clear policy direction as to what you need to do, and when you do your job, when you should be paid. Ledim talked about Julius Berger and all those major companies not taking NDDC's job. They won't take it because those people work with real time and real monies. The NDDC job are monies that are speculated. People who don't even do anything get paper signed and get paid. People who have done something don't get paid. Those are the benefits of those forensic audits. And when it emerges, for once, government must be government. Use the outcome of that forensic report to then re-engineer the process of making sure that the agency meets its goal for which it was created. That's what I think we should be doing. What has happened, and I think that we can fix it.
Let me go to Nii.
Thank you.
From what Ekio has said, what is the way forward as much as this audit remains sacrosanct?
Yeah, the audit is a good point to start off. We all agree, on perhaps the condemnable management of the NDDC over the years. But I think the most important philosophical undercurrent that we need to assert here is the structure of relationship between ideas and implementation of contracts, if you want to say it, in the agency. I think a developmental intervention agency like the NDDC should be community-led. And as Ledim was talking about the UNPADEM structure, that for me is the ideal structure, where the community are major stakeholders and major determinants of what and where projects, will be situated. It's not appropriate for someone somewhere, even if the NDDC is in a city within the Niger Delta region. It is not appropriate for such a person to aggregate the knowledge, and the needs, the wants of different communities in that region, and determine where and how to site, projects. That is one. Then two, again, because the community owns both physically, consciously, and psychologically, the structure of the NDDC, the community must also have the capacity to monitor outcomes, of the NDDC. Now, there's a general belief that it is the is the power of influence that determines what happens in an agency like the NDDC. And I'm saying no. Today, the Niger Delta region had become major beneficiaries of a number of institutions, as a result of the powerful agitation that evolved and triggered from that region, And I am still insisting that it is still not yet time to exit that kind of agitation, so that the people at that level would continue to be the mouthpiece, individually and collectively, of the needs of the region. In truth, that region is the major elan vital of this country. And I believe sincerely that Mr. President himself appreciates that fact. And that is why he has been giving so much attention to that region. But now, if we are all agreed that some politicians are trying to thwart, or divert what resources are supposed to go to the people, then leadership of that region, the leadership that we have known since the 90s, even in the face of brutal dictatorship, it's still time that we still get people like him and others in that region to continue to talk on this matter. The heavier the voices, the much better, even if it's at the level of the National Assembly, the much better we'll see the attention that will be given at the federal level, as it were.
Okay, let me go to Ogolo. Ogolo, shortly after Mr. President ordered the forensic audit, there was this reaction by a notable figure in the country saying that if the money so far released to NDDC in the area of projects, roads and other areas was channeled directly or appropriated directly to some contractors, will achieve more results. So in you putting your way forward, what's your own reaction to that? But before then, let's take this call from Calabar. Our first caller tonight is calling from Calabar, and we hear his name is Bisong. Hello, Bisong, you're on to Tuesday Live tonight. Hello, Bisong. Hello, Bisong. Well, please go ahead.
First, I think in terms of the way forward, there's some sense of confusion that need to be cleared. When the president called for forensic audit, our expectation is that the president have a purpose why he called for forensic audit. And that purpose can only be explained by terms of reference. But after the announcement of the president, we have seen that Ministry of Niger Delta has taken responsibility for oversight in this. And unfortunately, that again has raised question. But in moving forward, and that's exactly what we need to focus on, that the outcome of the forensic audit and how it will be implemented will rest in the doorstep of the president. And the political will to make things happen will rest with the president, because there's nothing the forensic audit is going to disclose that Nigerians are not aware before. If you look, the Nigerian Extractive Industry Transparency Initiative, NEITI audit report, that track resources. If the president asks NEITI to provide him information about NDDC, the president doesn't need to call for forensic audit. He will get the information. And there is an auditor general in this country that audits all federal government agency. If the president needs information, those informations are out there. Then, the people that have been working in NDDC from 2001 to date the public civil servants. The code of conduct, as a public civil servant, you are expected to do what they call asset declaration form. We know these people who have worked in NDDC. They live in our community. We have seen situation, a man, before he joined the NDDC, has no building. But as soon as he is announced as a commissioner of NDDC, he now has a mansion. Do you need any other evidence? Do you need a forensic audit to tell you that this man has dipped his hand? Or you have a man who has never had anything, no visible business. He is announced as managing director of NDDC. And suddenly the children are now attending Oxford School, Oxford University in London. Do you need any evidence to tell you? Do you need any forensic audit? I think the challenge, and that we must make very clear, that there is nothing the forensic audit is going to reveal that we are not aware. That's why we said that side by the federal government forensic audit, the Niger Delta citizen will also announce and go with their own forensic audit. Because the information on how NDDC money is mismanaged are there. If you recall, during the agitation, the Vice President, Osibajo, visited almost all the entire community in the Niger Delta, appealing to them to keep calm, and that the federal government was going to respond by bringing development and ensuring that there is an impact of government policy. In one of those visits, Osibajo visited Benin, and the Edo State government was hosting Osibajo, and civil societies were invited, and I was also invited. In that invitation, I had the opportunity to be given the opportunity to address Osibajo. We presented a report that showed how major contracts given by NDDC across the 9 states were misused and contracts were failed. And we presented the report to Osibajo. It's more than a year now, nothing has happened.
So, Osibajo, do you mean the Vice President?
The Vice President.
Okay.
Nothing has happened. What does that signal? So, the culture of impunity, that people will commit corruption, people will give out contract, and nothing happens to the people, it doesn't send a signal of confidence. And that reduces the legitimacy of how things should be done. And that is why the forensic audit provides another opportunity again for government to send a signal that it will not be a business as usual.
Okay.
And that in moving forward, the first thing that we want to see that the forensic audit should look into, all the public civil servants in NDDC, did they declare their asset declaration form? Is it with the code of conduct? Because that is the baseline. Because this money we're talking about is not in NDDC, it's in the private pocket. And the starting point is the people that are currently working in NDDC and that have worked in NDDC before. It is only when we go after those properties, recover those assets, that the right signal and that the culture of impunity can end. And then the government should also ask that the forensic audit should also look into the NAITI audit report, look into the Auditor General's report. In that way, also reach out to the people, because the people, they have the highest knowledge that you can talk of. Okay. They know the people, they know the managing director, they know the commissioners, they know their properties, they know where they located them, and the whistleblowing policy of the federal government that has now suddenly gone down because some people took the risk to blow whistle, and at the end of the day, they are not compensated. And you can see that the federal government policy of whistleblowing, the temple has gone down. Why?
Okay, thank you. Now, just as I'm about going to Port Harcourt before coming to Abuja to the SSA, this caller is calling from Port Harcourt, River State. Isaac. Hello, Isaac. You're on to Tuesday Live. Hello, Isaac. Well, it looks as though the calls have been challenging. Now, let's go to Ledum in Port Harcourt. What's the way forward for you?
Well, first, I associate myself with the comments of my friend David Ugolo on these issues. But what I will say, I'll make a very short point as my way forward. The point I have been saying since this program started is the point that David has said, is that there is nothing that you are going to bring out in a forensic audit that people do not have, that does not exist already several places that you don't know anywhere to go. Now, if you want to do audit, you can do it for the next 10 years. That's a business of government, as I said. But what is important for me is that the people cannot sit down there waiting. They want things to change. They want their lives to change. So if you ask me, the president has power under Section 7.3 to direct, control, supervise everything that they are doing. He should use that power to direct tomorrow morning that, look, the next tranche of the money we are giving, this is what I want you people to deploy it to. And as I always insist, it should be a bottom-up approach. If your president directs and says, look, this is what I want you people to do, we now have a new board that they said, I mean, that is another issue, because right now, I'm not sure who is in charge, because I hear there is an interim board house here. The Senate has also screened and, in fact, giving them directives to take over. That's a different issue, not for here. But if you say tomorrow morning, what I expect to do is that this board go to these communities and take from them what their priority projects are. Synthesize it and start working on them tomorrow. Let me see how things will do. When that is going on, then the people will now say, yeah, at least president is now scratching us where it's itching us. Because when you scratch people where it's not itching them, they will say that you are pinching them. And that's the problem. And you sit down because of that, government is not getting the public relations or the public support commensurate with how much money they think they are disbursing. Because most of those projects have no relevance to their needs. So I am saying, and the point I've been making since we started, is that don't waste time and resource on forensic or whatever audit. If you want information you want, it's out there in the public. And in any case, who are you going to audit? Because by the law, it is that whatever the NDDC is doing is under the control, supervision, and direction of the person who is doing the audit. So let us think of what the lives of the people will do. If their people are drinking bad water today, and by tomorrow they have hopes that better water will come, before audit comes, at least lives will have been saved. So let us, I'm more concerned about the practicalities, what are real. And I'm happy that Nils gets my point that this should be community driven, not politicians driven as it has been. And I must be honest that, in fact, in recent years has even been worse if you compare what has happened. Because after government learned their lessons and broke away from saying putting politicians in charge, I think that came back in recent years. So that almost all the people who are in charge, they just use it as a springboard to contest for election, this and that. And so when that happens, you know what the implications with the type of politics we are doing. So my view as a way forward, use the powers under the Act and make the directives about what projects should be done. And let's continue so that lives can change, not wasting time on the forensic audit, or if you want to do that, you can do that. It's an academic, because everything can be done administratively, so far as I'm concerned. We are not doing forensic audit on why East-West Road is done, We are not doing forensic audit on why electricity is getting worse. We are not doing forensic audit why the borders should be closed. And we are not doing forensic audit. If we want to do forensic audit for anything that is not working, we will not move forward. Because those who want to do things, do things. If you don't want to do it, you set committees. That's my view.
Okay. Thank you so much. Now, I hear there's a call. We'll confirm where the call is coming from quickly before I take the SSA on to the President of Nigeria Data Affairs. This one is calling from Ogagu Vie Frank. It says the focused audit of the NDDC by Mr. President is long overdue because the quality of infrastructure that they are putting in place here is poor and nobody is punished for it. And by this, a lot of us have lost confidence in the system. I pray the federal government gets it right now. MRR on the line Cosmos says the Niger Delta region is one region that still needs to feel the effects of the federal government, and a strictly followed up forensic audit as well as proper usage of recovered funds will be one way to impact on the Niger Delta region. The Republican says in an attempt to ambush the forensic auditors, the Minister of the Niger Delta Affairs hurriedly set up a committee to purportedly midwife the new board. How funny. The President must deliver on his promise to rewrite our regional narratives by repositioning the agency for greater productivity. The National Assembly should tinker with the act establishing that agency to possibly insulate it from corruption and corrupt tendencies. I'll take the remaining few tweets, but let's take the call from Paul. Paul is calling in from Jos, Plateau State. Hello, Paul. Hello. Hello. Well, it looks today we're having challenges with the calls. We're back to the tweets. The Niger Delta is one region that still needs to feel the effects. We have taken that already. And the last two is that an attempt to ambush the forensic auditors, the Minister of Data Affairs, we have taken that already. The NDDC is really not really served its purposes. It's a cash cow for the high and the mighty in the Niger Delta area. If none of the former chairman or chairman or board member are not brought to book, then we have lost our sanity as a nation. So,
yeah, thank you very much. I think I've listened so much, and I think I have done much of the listening, and good for me, because I know how people feel, and I've gotten so much idea about the way forward now. Way forward, I believe the first thing we should do is the forensic audit will take a while to bring out the results. While we're waiting for the result of the forensic audit, we should do something with the report that were prepared by NETI. And then take the report of the NETI, take the recommendations as they were, and then put it into use. At least let it be the guide to the present incoming management, so that they will not be going there doing things as it used to be, as it was in the beginning. Only to wait, let me see what the forensic audit will do for me to know what not to do and what to do. Because the forensic or the report by NETI, I've been privileged to read most of them. I work closely as chairman of Rules and Business. I work closely with NETI, and as liaison to the president, I also had privilege of seeing the reports of NETI. I also see the interim piecemeal report of the Auditor General's office. Then I also read and saw the reports that were the hearings that were made by the Senate and House Committees on Public Accounts on the matters of the NDDC. I also had opportunity of reading the when the committees come for, when the NDDC comes for their report, what they make at the committee. I've seen that all those reports are there. It is for us to take those reports, prepare what is the way forward, give in the interim while waiting for the forensic audit report, because it will take a short while though, because the process has just commenced. Now, the Senate has just cleared the new board, and I believe that in a short while
the names will be, upon approval of the votes and proceedings, will be forwarded to Mr. President, and the date will be scheduled for their inauguration, and they will take off. They should be able to take off and take over with a new direction of a charge having the recommendations. It can be done in a day or three, a day or two. Look, this is it. We serve you with it. That's number one. We also look at, in the charge to them, it should be without prejudice to your budget and including what you're doing in your budget, because as of today, in my opinion, with the greatest respect to the National Assembly, and there is no budget in the NDDC. No legitimate budget, because the budget that is in operation now is a budget of the past year, and that budget was passed after that year had passed. Another budget is being conceived now. Now, part of what the presidency should do, and the ministry and the National Assembly of Senate and House of Representatives should be to locate and choose what we will call a signature project for each state, and charge the Niger Delta Development Commission that for each state or group of states, take this project and handle. But it should not include East-West Road. And I'm serious about it. It should not include East-West Road, because East-West Road had its own capital money domiciled in Ministry of Niger Delta Affairs, and is one of the three projects. It shouldn't go there. It should come to Akwa Ibom Cross River. There is what they call regional project. The biggest problem of Cross River and Akwa Ibom is the Calabar, Odukmani, Itu, Ikorekpene, Aba Highway. Take that. The Ministry of Works has awarded part of it, co-fund the project. And I'm aware that in the 2018 budget, there was a provision for supplementation, which I work with the committees to provide that NDD should supplement that project for the Ministry of Works. Take that project, then go to Edo Delta. What is their major problem? Take one and do. If you can do one for Edo, one for Delta, or you do one that affects two of them, then take another signature project, working with the governor and the state and the stakeholders, the assembly members. What is your biggest problem? You do. With that, NDDC will have what to show. The incoming board will have what to show. On the issue of which board and which not which board, the issues are resolving itself legitimately and legally. With the Senate clearing the new board, the further steps will be taken to make them take their seats. Now, after that, we now go to the budget of the Niger Delta Development Commission itself. The budget, I blame us. I say us because I'm a trustee of the legislature. I blame the legislature. Because whatever, it does appear that what they bring, we pass. The legislature passes. The budget of the Niger Delta Development has been innately deficient and unreasonable, because you will see what is provided in the office of the managing director. It is bigger than us, almost bigger than what is bigger than what is provided in the office of the president. I'm sorry to say this. It is bigger than what is provided in the office of the, I wouldn't say president, let me say minister. It's bigger than what is provided in the office of 3 or 4 ministers for recurrent expenditure. Then you go to office of the executive director of projects, executive director of finance. Those monies it should just be because they don't pay extra staff. The staff are staff of the commission. Now, there is another thing that happens in Niger Delta Development Commission, which is wrong, which this present board must address. You will have SA administration, SA to the chairman, SA project, SA to SA finance to the MD, SA finance to EDP, SA on this, SA to that. They are not entitled. Those things are provided for. They are governed by an act which, under the law, when you are appointed, you are only entitled to the aids that are provided for in this thing. This person, you can give them different jobs different jobs, because those persons who were supposed to provide these roles are staff already provided for as staffers of the commission. And those are conduit pipes that monies are wasted, and now we want to audit and see where did money go. This is some of the areas that this money went. Therefore, we must start with a caution to the incoming board that, look, SA Finance, SA Administration, SA Security, SA Protocol, and these persons earn more than commissioners in states. I repeat, these persons earn more than commissioners in states on salaries, their salaries. Those things should just be stopped. Agreed, it is political, it is patronage, but there are things you can do. These are the things that we ought to have known that shouldn't happen, and it happened, and we kept quiet. Now, I would not want the public to lose confidence. I would want the public to still be actively telling us and showing the direction. Then the National Assembly should, when they take their budget, we should do the way we used to do budget in the ministry. When did you commence this project? How much did you pay in 2015? How much did you pay in 2016? What was the exit date for this project? And each project should have a timeline. Again, there is one thing that the Niger Delta Development Commission has not kept to, were the provisions of the law, which says that each state is entitled to amount of money and projects in accordance with its quantum of production. That has not been kept, because it is whoever becomes managing director, or more powerful, because there are times that you have EDP or EDFA, depending on where it comes from. I'm sorry that I have to descend into this, that it looks powerful than the other person, And so most of these places, now, projects will go to those areas, and funding will go to those areas, and payments will go for those areas, irrespective and different from the provision of the law that your project were to be funded according to the quantum of production of your own state. Then there is this custom or not custom as such, there is this practice of when any management comes in, they introduce their own set of projects. The projects that were done by PZ's era, may so rest in peace, will not be continued. They will have to take another one when Abia comes in. And when an interim management order comes in, they will start another set of projects. When another person comes in, they start another set of projects. And because this question of patronage, yes, it ought to be, but it has been unreasonably done. You have to patronize persons, but when they patronize you, use the patronage to go and complete that project. As of today, the interim management that took over from Sir Dan Abia, the lady from Rivers State, awarded a contract, I think over 2 billion, for the rehabilitation of Calabar, part of Calabar-Itu Road. Now, that road, I think it was about 4 years ago. You cannot pass on that road, and that is the portion that has collapsed most now. When we talk of the quality of projects, it is not until it is done by Julius Berger or RCC. It is when thing is given as a patronage, but there should be an element that you, this contractor who is given this job as a patronage, you should be able to cite this job as an example of a job that you did, for which should be referenced in giving you another job.
Okay.
Yes. Therefore, I want to say that the way forward is that we should give the new direction, the new incoming management, a new task, a lot of cooperation. They should be going there with a charge. They should not do things as they were. They should start in a new direction. Thank you. Let me use the opportunity to appreciate His Excellency the President of the Senate, the Deputy President of the Senate, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, because they were consulted according to the law, and that it is just some moment, the day they received the report, is the same day they sat and completed the consideration and have confirmed this thing. This shows that the Senate, the National Assembly, is interested and is concerned about the level of underdevelopment, and they want the new board to go take off and work well.
Okay. Ogolo, before we wrap up, from a private sector perspective, what role should the private sector play in ensuring that this move by the government succeeds without necessarily picking holes?
I can tell you that this question you have raised, again, show clearly that when we work in silos, we will not go anywhere. There must be some level of consensus. And I'm happy that even the American business circles have now issued a statement that business is not just for the shareholders alone, that business should also be beginning to think on how to invest in the community. So in the Niger Delta, the oil companies are currently operating them. Their legitimacy to operate in that zone also is a function of how infrastructures are brought to that zone. So I think there's need to be a coalition of private sector, civil society, and willing government officials that are willing to do business in a way that will bring development to the people. And once there is that consensus, I can tell you that things can happen. And one of the ways things can happen is this. The president, the responsibility to change the narrative in Niger Delta rests with President Buhari.
And he's up to it.
Yes. And if President Buhari do not take responsibility, nothing will happen. Because the appointment, the contracts that are going on in the Niger Delta don't follow due process. The law backing procurement system in Nigeria, if it is properly used in the Niger Delta, I can tell you that nothing bad, as we have seen, will happen. So in moving forward, first, public civil servant in the Niger Delta should disclose their asset declaration. And the government should ensure that the anti-corruption agency keep eyes on what is going on in the region.
Okay, I'm afraid I have to hold it there. Need just a few words forward.
I think we're just getting to the kernel of the matter. To my mind, the whole thing, borders on good governance and open governance, either by way of misconduct of people appointed, and of course, acquiescence by people on ground. I think what we should insist on is good governance, open governance. We've talked about patronage system here. And I'm also saying that perhaps it is even out of place to use patronage, in matters that concerns a development, agency as that, which we should insist on transparency. And of course, we have a president, that is championing that course of action. And I expect this to reflect in all agencies, of government across board. And the kind of things we've heard from and about the NDDC is not exactly ennobling, I've heard that that certain individuals collect 1 billion naira every month as commission and all manners.
Commission on what?
Even on collection,
Yes.
So what is important now is let stakeholders in that region, in the NDDC, also insist on transparency and good governance.
Okay, thank you so much. But gentlemen, let me quickly now say we are just a wrap up now. Let's go to Benin, where Dr. Chris Ekio is standing by. Thank you, Dr. Chris Ekio, for being on the program tonight, and also to Ledum Mite, legal practitioner in Port Harcourt Network Center. It was nice having you on the program. I'm back here in Abuja, starting with Reverend David Ogolo. It was nice having you, Executive Director, Africa Network for Environment and Economic Justice. Thanks for being on the program.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. and the Senior Special Assistant to Mr. President on Niger Delta Affairs. It was nice having you. You gave us some wonderful revelations there.
Thank you very much, and please let me still pray that the development of the Niger Delta should also concentrate in the oil communities because they are tortured.
Thank you so much.
We should not take our eyes away
from looking
for more money from the federal government.
Thank you very much. Well, to our callers whose calls could not pull through, well, it's beyond us. And all the tweets, we received a lot of them. We could take as much as we could. That's the much we could take on the program. Once again, we focus on the NDDC, how accountable, tied to the declaration by Mr. President that there should be a forensic audit on that agency. On behalf of all of us, thanks for watching. Bye-bye.